Hi there. Today we read chapter 17 of Enid Blyton's The Land of Far Beyond. In the last chapter, the travelers may have lost another two. John and Lily, who stepped into the city of folly, might be foolish enough to believe everything they see. Well, we will find out in just a bit. But before we continue, if you have not watched the previous chapters, please do so before continuing. Welcome to my space of make-believe. With just words we shall weave, places and people, adventures surreal. I am Tell a Story. This is an invitation to come with me. Chapter 17. The travelers go on their way again. The madman called Intolerance, the river of hate, overflows the banks of persecution and floods the travelers. They are rescued by Charitable on the raft of Independence. Peter ran to meet Honesty. He looked rather sad. "Where are Lily and John?" he cried. "Couldn't you find them?" "Oh, yes, I found them quite easily," said Honesty. "They were in the house belonging to Lady Extravagance and Lord Arrogance, and what a fuss was being made of them, to be sure." "What were they doing?" asked Anna. "Well, I got to the house and went in," said Honesty. "All the doors in the City of Folly seemed to be left open, you know. I heard the sound of children's voices and went upstairs. There was a pretty little girl there being dressed in blue satin. My goodness, her frock suited her perfectly, but she didn't look like a child in it because it was made just like Lady Extravagance's own dress." "Gracious!" said Anna. "What was John dressed in?" "He was being fitted with a long flowing cloak in red," said Honesty. "It had silver stars at the edge that glittered like the ones in the evening sky." "John would like that," said Anna. "He always liked dressing up as a prince when we lived in the City of Turmoil." "Lily was eating a big plateful of cream cakes," said Honesty. "The cream was 2 inches thick, and John was trying to get through a whole ice cream pudding by himself. He looked a bit yellow, I thought, as if he had eaten too much already." "Did you give them our note?" asked Mr. Scornful. "Are they coming?" "Yes, I gave them the note," said Honesty, "but they are not coming. They laughed at the note. They were rude and cheeky to me. The girl put out her tongue." "How rude!" said Mr. Scornful. "She wants slapping." "But do you really mean they won't come and join us again?" said Patience anxiously. "Why ever not?" "Well, I suppose they think they are going to have a wonderful time now," said Honesty, "and so they will, for a time. But when their rich friends are tired of them, they'll be sent away and forgotten. Then, poor children, they will come wandering out of this gate, ill and sad." "What are we to do about them?" asked Peter, worried. "Do you suppose if I went into the city and found them, I might be able to make them come with me?" "No, nobody can make them leave the city except themselves," said Honesty. "They have already got the nasty ways and bad manners of those who live there. You must leave them and hope that they will find a friend if ever they come out again." "Do you think you would look out for them, Honesty, whenever you pass by this gate?" asked Anna. "And ask your friends to look out for them too. Then you could perhaps give them a helping hand." "I'll look out for them, certainly I will," said Honesty. "As a matter of fact, I befriend many of the poor wretches. Some of them come to look for me, and I always help them then. Don't worry too much about Lily and John. I expect they will get tired of the city soon and come out to look for you. Then I will set them safely on the road again." "Thank you," said Mr. Scornful. "Well, we had better be going on. What a small company we are now! Only 4 of us, and we were quite a crowd when we set out." Peter, Anna, and Patience set out again rather sadly. It wasn't nice to leave the other children behind, but there seemed nothing else to do. The narrow path soon curved away from the city walls and went beside a gurgling stream. Soon they could hardly see the City of Folly, for mists came and hid it. They went on for a good way, and then met a man who called upon them to stop. "You can't pass by here unless you tell me what is in your luggage," he said, looking at the burdens on the backs of Mr. Scornful and the children. "Nobody takes luggage to the City of Happiness, so you must be carrying something you shouldn't." "It isn't luggage," said Mr. Scornful, not at all liking the look of the man, who had rather wild eyes and a hard mouth. "Well, I hardly know how to describe it. It's just a burden we can't get rid of till we reach the land far beyond. So pray let us pass." "What's in the burdens?" asked the man, his eyes flashing. "You must tell me." "Oh, don't be silly," said Mrs. Scornful, getting tired of the wild-eyed fellow. "Let us pass, or I'll knock you down. Who are you, anyway?" "I am called Intolerance," said the man. "I live here, not far from the path. I see travellers going by on their way to the city of happiness, but a lot of them don't deserve to get there, and I try to stop them." "What right have you to stop anyone?" cried Peter. "You have no right at all. Let us pass." "Tell me what's in your burdens first," said the man. Then, as nobody answered, he looked with his mad eyes at the loads on the travellers' shoulders. "Ah, I can see what is inside them. I can see." "You can't," said Anna. "I can see selfishness and unkindness and spite and greed. Oh, what terrible burdens! No one carrying those deserves to go to the city of happiness." "I dare say we don't deserve to go, but we are going all the same," said Mr. Scornful. "The stranger told us that we might go there, and he should know because he came from there. You've no right to stop us." "I detest the things you carry in your burdens," said Intolerance. "I hate sinners. I hate people who do not think exactly as I do." "It is right to hate sin, but it's all wrong to hate the sinner," said Mr. Scornful impatiently. "You're a sinner too because you hate people who don't think as you do. Now go away or I'll push you over." "If you dare to lay a finger on me, I will open the gates of my dam over there and flood the path," shouted Intolerance, quite beside himself with rage. The others looked and saw that the gurgling stream beside, which they had walked for a mile or two, had now swollen into a rapid river that almost overflowed its banks. Near them was a stone dam, which kept the river away from the path. In it was a sliding iron gate. Intolerance ran to open the gate of the dam. "I'll flood you! I'll sweep you away!" he shouted. "You dare to threaten me? Well, I'll show you what I can do. This is my river of hate. I will let it overflow the banks of persecution and sweep you off your feet. Then maybe you will crawl back to me and beg my pardon. You will say I am right and will think as I do and believe what I believe." "Stop!" yelled Mr. Scornful, as he saw the man turning a handle that lifted up the iron gate from the opening in the dam. "You're mad, fella! Why try to drown people just because they are not what you think they should be? Stop!" But Intolerance was half mad, and he opened the gate in his stone dam. With a rush the water poured out, sickly yellow in color, and swirled around the feet of the four travellers at once. They yelled and tried to run from it, going forward on the path as fast as they could, but the water followed them, licking round their knees now, pouring over the banks and down to the path. "I hope it doesn't get any deeper," cried Anna, trying to keep her balance. "Mrs. Scornful yelled to him to shut the dam." But all the yelling in the world would not make Intolerance do anything he didn't want to. He stood beside the dam, shouting, "I'll rescue you if you'll say you're sorry and will agree with me." "Silly fellow," said Peter. The boy had found a firm place on the path and had dug his feet hard into it to withstand the force of the water. "Anna, Patience, come here to me and hold on to my hands. I'm steady here." The two girls were almost bowled over now by the water, which had reached up to their waists. With Mr. Scornful's help, they reached their brother and held on to his arms. "You're as steady as a rock, Peter," gasped Anna. "I was almost in the water just then, and goodness knows where it would have taken me. It is pouring away in the field over there. Oh, how horrid of Intolerance to treat us like this!" The water rose higher still. It reached to the children's shoulders, then up to Mr. Scornful's chest. "We shall drown soon," said Anna. "Oh, Peter, don't you think we'd better yell to Intolerance to stop the river overflowing? We can easily say we're sorry and that we agree with everything he says, even if we don't." "Well, I'm not going to do that," said Peter, holding his sisters very firmly indeed. "We've a right to think as we like, and to do what we think best. Why, Intolerance would be a real tyrant if he had his way, trying to make everyone think as he does, and see how wicked he is really, for all he pretends to hate evil things. He has nearly drowned us in his river of hate." "The water's up to my chin," groaned poor Patience. "I'm holding on to you, Peter, but the river is very strong." "Look, there's a raft!" suddenly cried Mr. Scornful, and he nodded over the water, which was now a raging torrent. The children could just see the raft bobbing on the surface. On it was a sturdy youth, who was holding a rope in his hand, ready to throw it to anyone caught in the flood. "Hey!" yelled Mr. Scornful. "Hey! Can you save us?" The youth heard his shout and threw the rope at once. Mr. Scornful gave it to the two girls, and the youth pulled them to safety on his raft. Peter swam to it, and Mr. Scornful waded over and pulled himself up. "Goodness!" said Peter, shivering. "That was a most unpleasant adventure. Does Intolerance do this kind of thing often?" "Whenever he can," said the youth, paddling the raft over the river. "But as soon as I saw the water rushing over the path, I get out my raft of independence. It has saved many a traveller from Intolerance river of hate. My name is Charitable, and I'm quite the opposite of Intolerance." "I am glad you came when you did," said Anna, trying to squeeze the water from her clothes. "I should have been swept away the very next minute. I simply can't imagine how it was that Peter stood so steady." "Oh, your brother's name is Peter, is it?" said Charitable, his grey white-set eyes looking at the boy. "Well, you know what the name Peter means, don't you? It means a rock. So Peter is like his name, is he? Steady as a rock when trouble comes along. That's good." After some time, the youth reached the end of the flooding water. His raft scraped on the ground, and he jumped off. He helped the girls to the dry ground, and then waved his hand to where a big bonfire burned nearby. "I always like that when I see the river flooding over the path," he said. "Then travellers can dry themselves." The children and Mr. Scornful dried themselves gratefully by Charitable's big fire. It was a curious fire, for it seemed to dry them completely in no time. Even their clothes underneath soon became dry. Charitable piled on more twigs when the fire died down. "Why doesn't somebody punish Intolerance?" asked Peter, holding his steaming coat out to the flames. "He has no right to treat people like that." "Oh, sooner or later he will be swept away in his own river," said Charitable, "and I don't mind telling you that I will not be out on my raft that day. He is the one person in the world I won't help, for he has persecuted others so often." When they were dry, the four travellers sat down by the fire and shared some of their food with Charitable. He was a good companion and liked listening to the tale of their adventures. "Well, you're not far from the land of far beyond now," he said cheerfully. "You've got to go up the steps of impatience and past the dragons of fatigue, and then you're at the boundaries of the land you want. Good luck to you." The end of chapter 17. How righteous Intolerance is, to the point of hatred. And how sad that is. I know so many like that, trying to push their beliefs down people's throats. Hey, if you would like to read this book, it's almost coming to the end and you cannot wait, then you can search it up online as it is in the public domain. Otherwise, please join me in the next chapter. I would love to have you for company. Till the next time, go grab yourself a book, read, and let your imagination take you anywhere. Be anyone and do anything. And do share your reads in the comments. Would love to know. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.